Welcome everyone, this is Kerjims channel. Now we are back to our new episodes of two semi-reality champions and comparison featured by Wild League of Legends versus the Mobile Legends Bang Bang. But before that, please like and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so you will be notified to our next episode video. Let's do this!
Xerath is a long-range mage champion with a couple of neat tricks. In addition to dealing tons of damage with his abilities, he also acts as a sort of artillery, bombarding enemies from long range. Xerath's passive is Ascended Form. A percentage of his ability power is converted into bonus armor, making him naturally durable against physical assailants. Arcanopulse causes Xerath to briefly channel, then immediately deal damage to all enemies in a line. Locus of Power immobilizes Xerath for a short duration, giving him bonus magic penetration and increased range on his abilities. Xerath can also break out of this state by recasting the ability. After leaving this state, Xerath gains a temporary movement speed buff. Mage Chains damages and marks a single enemy for a few seconds. If Xerath hits the marked enemy with any other damaging spell, his target becomes stunned for a short time. Xerath's ultimate is Arcane Barrage, which damages all enemies in target area. For the next few seconds, this ability can be cast 2 more times for free before it goes on cooldown. Xerath's early laning is extremely strong. Once you learn to lead your opponents with Arcanopulse, you can constantly poke them from out of counterattack range. By learning Mage Chains at level 2, you can further this harassment. Once he gets low enough, Exhaust and Flash will help you secure the kill. Xerath's harass gets even stronger once you learn Locus of Power. Every time it's available, turn it on and poke at your lane opponent. Again, I'm able to constantly throw out Arcanopulse, dropping Rise lower and lower. Unfortunately, Locus of Power does have a very long cooldown at low levels, and I end up wasting it before Arcanopulse comes off of cooldown, meaning Rise lives. Grabbing Sorcerer Shoes by level 6 will in fact cause you to deal tons of damage. After missing Arcanopulse, I lead with Mage Chains and trigger its stun with Arcane Barrage. Once stunned, Rise becomes an easy target for the rest of my combo, giving me my second kill of the game. At level 9, and with a moderate amount of AP, Xerath is an extremely good farmer. Once an enemy minion wave is coming, use Locus of Power with Arcanopulse, then move back and launch another Arcanopulse. In the interest of saving mana, you should last hit the cannon minion with your basic attack, but immediately taking the other 6 minions is extremely powerful. Xerath is even more powerful when wearing the Golem buff. Once again, I push around Rise using Locus of Power, Arcanopulse, and Mage Chains. Once I push Rise to his turret, he retreats to the jungle to escape. However, I take the chance with Locus of Power and Arcanopulse, killing him in the Fog of War. Ganking is also really powerful on Xerath. I spot a skirmish at the bottom river and activate Locus of Power once I notice Janna channeling Monsoon. 2 shots of Arcane Barrage kill her and give an easy kill on Rise for my teammates. As we push bottom lane, I stay at Locus of Power's maximum range. The cooldown matches well with Arcanopulse, so I deactivate Locus immediately after nuking my enemies. After picking up the kill on Rumble, I stay in Locus to drop Arcane Barrage, taking down Rise. As Riven has gotten out of range, I use Locus's movement speed buff to rush up to her, picking up the kill with Mage Chains. We get into a team fight in mid. Again, I open with Locus of Power, poking at Janna. As Udyr comes in, I drop him with Arcane Barrage and then reactivate Locus to crush Rumble and Rise's health. As I push back into the battle, I get our team 2 more kills thanks to Mage Chains and the long-range slow from Ryla's Crystal Scepter. Xerath also has a number of tricks in Dominion on the Crystal Scar. After poking Riven off the capture point, I head to the brush below it and activate Locus of Power. I'm exactly in range for Arcanopulse, forcing Riven to give up the point for good. Xerath's long range is extremely helpful against melee fighters. As Riven jumps me, I lead with Mage Chains and stun her with Arcanopulse right as she initiates. Too low to fight, she runs only to be dropped by 3 shots from Arcane Barrage. As I flash away from Renekton, I wait until Mage Chains comes off cooldown, stunning him as I run for the Speed Shrine. Once he turns to fight Heimerdinger, I land another Arcana Pulse. I leap around away from Heimerdinger and prepare for another Arcana Pulse with Locus of Power. Now extremely low, I land Mage Chains for the kill. You really want to stay around the middle of the map as Xerath, as it gives you access to speed shrines and allows the most use of your long range. I head over to my team and help them pick up a kill on Blitzcrank, first using Locus of Power and Arcana Pulse. As he continues to run, I repeat the combo and kill him with Mage Chains. Shortly after, I make it up to the windmill. Mage Chains with Riley's Crystal Scepter makes it almost impossible for her to dodge Arcana Pulse, so we pick up the kill before she can reach the health relic. For runes, I take Magic Penetration Marks, Ability Power per level Seals, Ability Power per level Glyphs, and Flat Ability Power Quintessences. This setup is aimed at giving me early lane dominance, using Arcana Pulse to push around my opponent, while also scaling me into late game with lots of ability power. I max Arcana Pulse immediately for consistent damage output. I take a point in Mage Chains at level 2 and leave it there as I max Locus of Power second. This ability order turns me into artillery pretty quickly, able to constantly toss out long-range spells. For items, I grab a Doran's Ring in Classic or Sorcerer's Shoes in Dominion. After adding Sorcerer's Shoes, I immediately grab Rabbitin's Death Cap. With my core build done, I add utility and damage with Riley's Crystal Scepter and Will of the Ancients. I finish out my build with Morel's Evil Tome for cooldown reduction and Void Staff when my opponents start to get more magic resist.
Over the next years, as they grew together, the boys studied the history of Shurima. On the annual tour of the Emperor's Dominion, assassins ambushed the royal caravan while camping at a well-known oasis. Xerath saved Azir from an assassin, but Azir's brothers were all slain, leaving the young prince the only heir of Shurima's throne. As a slave, Xerath could expect no rewards for his actions, but Azir promised that one day they would be as brothers. When the Emperor returned to his capital city, a new age began. Shurima endured years of horror and fear of the Emperor's retribution. Xerath knew enough about history and how Shurima's ruling worked to know that Azir himself was in danger. The Emperor hated him for surviving the attack while his other son died. And since the Queen was still young, there was a good chance that she would produce another male for her husband. And as soon as she did, Azir's life was over. Xerath told Azir that one day he may need to protect himself and that he should learn to fight. Azir agreed, and in return, he elevated Xerath and made him his right hand. This position gave Xerath great influence over Azir as his judgment slowly became essential. Xerath spent every effort into seeking out knowledge wherever he could find it, no matter the cost, no matter the source. He unlocked long-sealed libraries, delved into forgotten vaults, and consulted with mystics entombed deep beneath the sands. Whenever the whispers about Xerath and his ways grew too loud to ignore, he would make sure to silence them. To Xerath, the fact that Azir never mentioned these whispers was an approval of how he was keeping his emperor safe. Years passed, and Xerath took ever darker steps to keep the queen from carrying a child to term, using his magical abilities to corrupt every infant she had. Without rivals to the throne, Azir would be safe. When the rumors of a curse arose, again, Xerath would make sure to silence them. By now, Xerath fully realized the size of his power, and his desire to escape from slavery turned into burning ambition to achieve power of his own. With each murder, he kept telling himself that he was doing it to keep his friend alive. But one day, he stepped too far. Despite his best efforts to curse the queen, a new prince of Shurima was born. On the night of his birth, Xerath summoned a powerful storm and brought bolt after bolt of lightning down upon the queen's chamber, killing both the queen and her newborn son. The emperor rushed to the chamber where he met Xerath. his hands ablaze with arcane power. The Emperor's guards tried to attack, but Xerath burned them and the Emperor to cindered skeletons. Xerath ensured that the mages of a conquered territory were blamed for these deaths, and Azir's first act upon taking the throne was to lead a brutal campaign of retribution against its people. Azir was now the Emperor of Shurima. Xerath had long dreamed of this moment and expected Azir to end slavery in Shurima before finally naming him brother. Azir did none of those things, continuing to expand his empire's borders and deflecting all discussions about the end of slavery. To Xerath, this was further proof of Shurima's moral bankruptcy, and he raged at Azir's breaking of his promise. Azir's face was thunderous as he reminded Xerath that he was a slave and he should remember his place. Something once noble died in Xerath that day, but he bowed in supplication, outwardly accepting Azir's decision. As Azir continued his campaign of conquest, Xerath remained at his side, but his every action was carefully designed to increase his influence over a realm he now planned to take for himself. To steal an empire was no small thing, and Xerath knew he needed more power. The famous legend of Renekton's ascension revealed that a mortal did not have to be chosen by the Sun Queen, that anyone could rise up. So Xerath plotted to steal the power of ascension. He told Azir that he could rule more than Shurima alone, perhaps the entire world, and that it would all be possible with the power of ascension. Surely enough, Azir soon announced that he would undertake the ascension ritual. Few Sun Priests protested against this decision, but Azir's ego was far too big by now to let them live for that.